Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, and welcome to this episode of our program. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Stephen Rodgers with the Alchemy Advisors. Welcome to the program, Steve.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Hey, let's start off by giving us a little bit of your background and what brought you to this point in your career.
Yeah, I was in the two major businesses until now. One was in the hotel restaurant industry and did a lot of stuff in the services business and up until I was in my late 20s, and then I got into real estate, and I became a salesperson in the residential real estate space in Southern California, and that led from going from sales to management to eventually executive management. And one of the firms I was with the most of that time was Prudential California Realty, and I was with them for a period of 15 years, and I started with them as a manager when I did join them in a management capacity. And over that 15-year period, we grew that company from around 10 real estate offices up to about 110 real estate offices. And at our peak, we were doing about $25 billion a year in sales volume and almost 40,000 transactions a year. And it was quite a mammoth company, so we grew it quite large. And then earlier in that period of time, Warren Buffett, who owns a division called Home Services of America, bought that entire division of that Prudential franchise in 2001. So for about 7 years, I worked under the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services brand and got to meet Warren Buffett and got to do a lot in that whole corporate world. And then I got pushed out of corporate America in 2008 in the mortgage meltdown and real estate meltdown and started my own real estate company and ran my own residential real estate brokerage in San Diego and had a mortgage company and an escrow company. And then I phased out of that 2 years ago, and now I have become a consultant, and I've written a book, and I'm out helping other entrepreneurs and business leaders evolve to their highest good in life and business. So that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Well, really? I mean, is that all you're doing? Woo, when do you sleep?
I put that in. I definitely schedule that in for sure.
Yeah, really, a little catnap here or there. That's really awesome, and it's really, I'll bet you could say in your coaching and consulting business now, you most assuredly have learned lessons, made connections with, learned pitfalls, learned successes that you now are able to say, been there, done that, learned this lesson, and here's the way to do it because I've done it wrong or I've done it right, and here's the proof.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, even in the midst of many of the successes I had over those years, I had equal and more learning experiences in the failures or the bumps or the bricks upside the head, as I call them. So, yeah, that's part of what my journey has been of trying to help people save time, save pain, and save energy by hearing someone who's maybe taken that instead of going left, say go right and go a sharp right, or keep going straight, don't do left right now, wait and do left another mile down the road. So those are the kinds of things, I've tried to take my learning experiences and helping various business leaders to either get more productive or create more profit, or hopefully the most important thing is creating more purpose and really creating more purpose in what they're doing, more meaning in what they're doing, and finding that earlier in their process. Because what I have found meeting so many successful people along the way is that even though money and success and status and power and all those things are great and fine and wonderful if they're kept in check, they also, sometimes people get during the process and they get there and they go, God, is this all there is? I thought it was going to be different. I thought it was going to be more. I thought it was going to have more meaning. So the more you're able to find meaning deeper and earlier in your process of your life and dovetailing that in instead of waiting until the someday comes, that's what I'm really trying to get more people enlightened about in the process of building businesses and growing businesses.
Yeah, when you say that, it makes me think of the, someday I'll, that few think of the distance that you never get to, and then you get to this goal that you have set, and then you go, now what? Well, I've heard it said, and I know you have as well, a goal is not as much the thing that you achieve, it's the person you become in the quest of that goal. And if you're doing it the right way, like what you're saying, whether it's corporate social responsibility or serving or giving, or like Bob Berg, the author of Go Giver, if you have that mindset of giving and serving, then transactions will happen. You'll pay your bills and you'll achieve the things you need to achieve in business, but then that impact and that value is there. So can you speak to maybe one lesson that you have learned in that respect that you pass along to your clients?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I read the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich book in my late teens, early 20s, and a lot of quotes jump out on that one. But one of them, in talking about success, is he says success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. It's not meeting the goal, as you said; it's the progressive realization of that. So along the way, being in the sales industry and helping people, sell lots of houses, and having agents, we had tons of quotas and tons of awards and tons of status and more sales and more units, and I definitely got caught up in that many times along the way of, beating my chest and helping others beat their chest. And a lot of times I found that being exciting and motivating, but sometimes it became empty, and the competitiveness of it really created sometimes more challenges than it did positive. So one of the things I learned in my career is to really find a more collaborative way to be more collaborative and a mix of competitive. And in doing so, when I left corporate America and started my own real estate company, we got up to about 500 real estate agents. But I experienced within that I changed the culture of not having as many awards, not having as many designations, and not making it about just the individual. But I really started focusing and changing the shift to much more of a we environment, and me being much more of a servant leader. So I kind of shifted the thinking of, since I was in the service industry for so many years and waiting tables, bartending, and helping manage comedy clubs and different things, I realized in getting into servicing and real estate, I just evolved in a different way. I was serving people in a different way. So my mind shifted from being a servant leader or a leader of service, and then getting my people to be more in a teamwork, collaborative effort versus a competitive environment.
That's easier said than done. Of course, we know that, but it's a process. And at the time of our interview today, we're in the midst of the Olympics, and it makes me think of when we're watching some of these team events, and you see, I'm thinking of, like the women's gymnastics, and they do the team events, and that's great. But then you see them doing their individual and all-around type events, and when they come off the floor and their whole team is high-fiving and hugging, well, they're competing against each other for gold and silver. And now all of a sudden you would think that they'd snub each other and, you fell. Now all of a sudden you're going, it's the same team dynamic, and you're happy when that person does a routine. So it just kind of keeps that positive vibe going.
Yeah, that's a great example. And I was thinking that exact same thing as you said that. I remember just watching that 2 nights ago, the girls hugging each other and just high-fiving each other. And what you realize in that experience is sometimes people have an innate, even if it's a fraction of a second, just a little bit better than you are, but it helps push you to be your best, and for whatever your best is. And if you can take glory in that, even if you're not, quote, better than someone else and being judged either in a gold versus a silver, or, just being at the Olympics in general, you're already at, the top, 0.25% of the entire world in general, or whatever it might be. So just understanding that experience of giving yourself credit for what you have accomplished. And I've been big on helping people achieve goals, write plans, write business plans, and create, what their personal leverage might be. But I also make sure people are constantly taking an inventory about what they are doing, what they have done, what their assets are. So just like when you're running a business, you have you have your balance sheet that have assets and liabilities. And I don't think that people sometimes give themselves enough credit in a humble, internal, holistic way on what really they are doing in their life and what they have accomplished, and realizing all the wonderful gifts and things they have done for themselves and others. And if you start where you're at, and then you work on being present in the present moment, which is another big thing of my next chapters here in my life, is I'm really, really focused on that I'm every day being present in the present moment with people I'm speaking with, whatever I'm doing in that moment, whatever it is. I'm trying to not be involved in thinking about tomorrow, yesterday, or the next hour. And in doing that, when you're in that experience of being your very best self, but being present in the present moment, it keeps everything much more close to you, and much more, in my experience, it's creating more joy and more peace and more fulfillment in my life, even though I haven't reached all the goals I want to reach, where I would have used to beat myself up over that.
Yeah, that is just massive and huge, and we could probably go off on many deeper tangents on that one statement. It made me think of one other sports analogy, and when we're thinking of the Olympics, I remember watching the 100-meter sprints or 200-meter, and I remember that some American did not make the finals because he looked to his right and his left, and the announcer was saying, young sprinters out there, you cannot do this. You have to keep your eyes, and I'm sitting here from a business strategy standpoint going, wow, what a great business principle. keep your eyes straight ahead at your goal. And yes, you need to be aware of the competition, but you don't turn your head to the left and turn your head to the right, because that affects the trajectory and the speed that you're going forward.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you can look to the left and look to the right when you're not in the game and be aware of what your competitors are. But when you're in the game and you're in that moment, that's about being present in the present moment, like you just said.
Yeah.
It's sometimes a millisecond. I mean, some of you look at these Olympics, and so, I mean, we were trying to calculate that on my iPhone the other night. One of the swimmers who beat another swimmer, and by the time we even hit the button to find out what the fraction of the second was, you couldn't even compute it. It was, I mean, it was just, it's an eyelash. It's just a dash. So. And that's the difference of why someone maybe gets to the level. But again, if you're not staying present in the game, whatever game you might be in, whether you're a musician or you're an artist or you're a police officer or you're an executive, whatever your quote game is, and when I say game, I say it with the most respect. It's not that life's a game that it doesn't have meaning, but I mean a game in when you're in your zone, when you're in your place of having to serve a client or to do a speech or to write a book or whatever it might be. When you're in your zone, then be in your zone. And that's why I take away from that statement of being present in the present moment. And I'm not worried about what others are doing, and I'm not worried about how my book or my consulting company or how I'm dealing with a client in that moment compares to anyone else is doing. I know in that moment I'm doing the very best that I can do. It doesn't mean that the next day or the next week I may be better at doing it. But right now, in this moment, I have to take the expression of what the universe is creating along with me in the co-creation of that experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many business and life principles in that one statement right there that is so huge. So tell me, what type of clients do you work with, and then what specifically do you help them accomplish?
Yeah, I made a conscious effort that being in the real estate business for 20 years in all different capacities, that I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to make sure that at least half of my clients were somehow related outside of the real estate space. Yeah. I didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I didn't want to cut my nose off to spite my face in any fashion. So I have clients over the last year, as I've been doing, a year and a half I've been doing this, that have been in the health and beauty business, that have been book authors, that have been law firms, that have been insurance firms. I've definitely worked with some real estate brokerages and some finance companies and some 1031 exchange companies. I'm currently working, I just left a conference I was at for the last 2 days in Las Vegas with a technology company, with two young brothers that are in their 30s that are really progressive, shaking out some stuff in the technology space. So, it's a mix. I realize that business is business, people are people, and the things that most people are looking for are the three things I mentioned earlier, which is people are looking to be more productivity in some fashion. They want to be more productive either in their health or their fitness or their body or their business. And most people want to be more profitable, meaning if they're making profit in their business, they maybe want to have more time off and still be more profitable or keep the profit. Or if they're not running a profitable business, they want to run a profitable business. Or in their life, they might want to just be finding more profit with, meaning when I look at profit in life, yes, that could be your finances with your own family finances and your portfolio, but it's also profit of you feeling like you're left with, a more profitable heart and a more profitable soul. And then the last one is people that are looking for more purpose. And that's really where I'm attracted to clients. If they're not tying that third element in, which is purpose, that they're doing something of purpose for themselves at a higher level, purpose for themselves in their employee engagement within their company, or bettering the community or the products that they have, whether they're turning the product to be organic, or they're doing something for the energy grid, or they're doing something for the homeless, whatever it might be. So that's what I look for. I'm looking for people that want more productivity, more profit, and more purpose, and that they're looking to go to a higher level. So the Alchemy company, what I really resonate with is transformation and evolution. And so I'm really, whatever that looks like, wherever you're starting from, I really want people to be aware of that this is a process, that they're really reaching for higher heights of whatever their best self is. And if they're leaders of companies, which are the most people I'm working with are leaders, if they're willing to integrate that back into their own companies and businesses of helping inspire others to get to this transformational evolution piece, that's where I'm deciding then which clients I'm going to start working with more than others.
Yeah, that is just such a huge piece. I love that. So here's a question for you. In your bio, you've got some pretty big name people that you rub shoulders with. How did that come about, and what's it like to have people in your Rolodex and inner circle that have such powerful pasts? Yeah,
thank you for that. I ask myself that question sometimes as well. I'm like, God, how do I how did I get to work for Warren Buffett and meet him? And how did I get Brian Tracy, who's just a phenomenal guy, become my friend and business coach over the years? And the way it became is part of it came because I was an avid learner. I mean, I'm a guy who just have always been in the personal development space, and I've always read, and I've always wanted to grow, and I've always wanted to better myself. And so as I read these books or blog posts or watched videos with these many key leaders, sometimes I would reach out to them, and I would send them an email, or I would, whatever. And it was amazing how many people responded back. So number one, I took the experience of learning from people that were setting the example of these great leaders and saw who walked their talk. And also, as I climbed the corporate ladder at Prudential, a lot of times I would invite people in to speak. So I had the beauty of inviting speakers and authors and trainers and leaders into the company. And then when I became the CEO of the company, and I would be at CEO conferences or other executive conferences, I always made sure I sought out people that were smarter than I, and many times that was many of those. And so I always wanted to be in a room that were people smarter than myself, and I always wanted to make sure I walked in those rooms and learned all I could. I also asked a lot of questions when I'm with people, and I'm so interested in learning who they are. And I wasn't afraid to ask for help, and I wasn't afraid to ask for connection. And I've been really, really amazed and surprised that successful people, when asked the appropriate way and when sought out for a coffee or a lunch or an email exchange or a Facebook or a LinkedIn connection, it's amazing in the right approach and with the right respect and with the right offering of your authenticness of it, how many people are willing to respond back. So that ended up leading me to a lot of people like Brian Tracy or John Asseroff, who was in The Secret and done many other great things, or meeting Warren Buffett, or Mark Thompson, who's become a good friend of mine, who was the right-hand guy of Charles Schwab and has done a lot of work with Richard Branson and different major companies. So it became this circle of realizing that first I was worthy, I was open, I didn't mind accessing, and I got out of my fear and I got out of my head of, they won't call me back or they won't email me or what am I going to have to say to them. So that was kind of just one thing led to another. And as I was able to write my book, it was great to reach out to people like Marshall Goldsmith or Brian Tracy and Mark Thompson and John and say, hey, would you do me a favor and could you maybe give me an endorsement of the book? And everyone graciously said yes. And I asked Brian Tracy to do the forward in the book, and Brian did the forward. And it was just humble gratefulness and complete gratitude on the generosity of people.
That's huge. So let's wrap up with this thought regarding your book. Give us a synopsis overview of what the book is about, and then what is the most important thing that our listeners would get out of buying a copy of your book.
Yeah, thank you. So the book is called Led to Gold, and it's an entrepreneurial's journey through transition and transformation. And it talks about my climb from having that mindset of being in middle management to then becoming an executive and becoming a CEO and having goals and missions, but also what happens when that gets pulled out from under you. So the Led to Gold thing came from a couple different reasons. I love the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and I love the word alchemy, and I love all about transition, as I talked about already. But when I got pushed out of Prudential in 2008, after being there 15 years in the meltdown of the world, in the mortgage and real estate world, I got fired. And that was a big thing to get my head around. And so I thought, well, either I can take this lead around my legs here that's just been put around me, or I can go out and create some gold. So I've always had this concept in since a young age of how do you turn lead into gold, and I didn't always describe it that way. But I knew that I would take challenges and turn them into opportunities. So the book is a mix of my stories about my own challenges, my own human frailties, my own issues that I've had, either chosen or not chosen. And when you get a brick upside the head, how do you take that and lead it into something more value? So the book gives people some step-by-step action steps into do that. It gives some step-by-steps of having a more balanced, healthy life and fitness and health and spirituality and money. And then it also is an inspirational book. But it also will hopefully give people the power of appreciation and then the power of forgiveness. Because a lot of people ask me, how do you get started and how do you get on your biggest goal? And a lot of times I'll throw them off guard and I say, well, who do you need to forgive today? And who might need to forgive you? Because a lot of times this power of forgiveness, of changing and transitioning into something more, is often there's a hidden subconscious or a very conscious thing that this angst or this resentment that we have that sometimes are subtle or large of people that we haven't forgiven or that we need to forgive, I find is the most powerful thing that I've ever done beyond in the appreciation mode. So the book will also give people some inspiration for that. And so it's intended for that, helping people turn their own lead to gold and then having a formula to be able to do that in their life and business.
I love it. That's awesome, and I know I will be picking up a copy of the Kindle version. I love reading on my Kindle. So tell our listeners how they can engage in your book and as well as find out more about your coaching and consulting.
Yeah, thank you for that. The book is on Amazon, and we were lucky enough to become an Amazon #1 bestseller when we launched that book that week. And you can go to Amazon and just put in the Lead to Gold book by Stephen Rodgers. And then you can probably find all of this information, though, the easiest on my website. And my website is thealchemyadvisors.com, thealchemyadvisors.com. And it's got videos, and it's got blogs, and it's got links to the book. The book will also be coming out in an audio version in about 2.5 weeks. It'll be on Audible and about 5 other sites. So it'll be in Kindle and print, and then also Audible. So and there'll be more to come. Now that I've done a book and I've gotten beyond all of my challenges of my first fears of launching a book, I do plan on launching another one here early year. And so hopefully this will be the first of many that I'll be able to get out into the world.
Excellent. I love it, and I just really enjoy your energy and your passion, and thank you so much for your time on being on our program today, Steve.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much. Keep up the good work you're doing, and I appreciate the invite.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.